Hey, everybody. I was going to do a different episode tonight, but then a bunch of stuff happened that I think we need to talk about. And so I wanted to talk about that and just see how we can move past this as a country. I don't know. Let's start the show. There is no God and we're all gonna die. There is no God and we're all gonna die. There is no God and we're all gonna die. There is no God, there's just you and I. Hey everybody, welcome to There Is No God and We're All Gonna Die. I'm your host, Daniel Cartier, a gay, liberal atheist living in the Bible Belt. Thank you for tuning in. If you've never watched this podcast before, a couple things. I don't hate religious people. If you're here and you believe in God, I think that's great. I don't want to take that away from you. If you are conservative, I don't hate all conservatives. I happen to be very liberal myself, but I have a lot of conservative friends. This isn't the Angry Atheist podcast. I'm just a guy who has the beliefs I have. And those beliefs certainly dictate a lot of the ways that I view the world around me and everything that's happening right now. And it's hard not to have views living in the society right now, living in a country that has somebody in the White House that is saying some of the most unhinged things. Today, I honestly believe Donald Trump hit a new low, even for him. His response to Rob Reiner and Rob Reiner's wife getting violently murdered, I think it's one of the most unhinged things any president's ever said about anything. So I'll get to that. And I don't want to even dwell too long on it because it is so ugly and there's plenty of other people talking about it. But I do want to say a couple things about it because I think they need to be said. Before I get to my next thought, if you are watching this right now and you have any opinions on anything I'm saying, I would love to hear them. Most of this podcast is me answering voicemails. People leave voicemails. I listen to the voicemails during the show, and then I respond to them. So if you want to leave me a voicemail, a voice message, I guess, all you need to do is go to thereisnogod and we're all gonna die.com. There is no God and we're all gonna die.com. And there will be a button. Leave a voice message. Click on that. And you can tell me that you hate what I'm talking about, you love what I'm talking about, you agree with me, you don't agree with me, or maybe you just have thoughts on something. Dazzle us with your thoughts. I would love to hear from you. Even if you are a diehard Christian nationalist, MAGA-loving, Trump-supporting person who would hate somebody like me, I would still love to hear from you. Everybody's welcome. This is a place where anybody who wants to call in can call in, and I will gladly respond to your message. And I'll always try to be respectful of it, even if I don't agree with you. My job at the end of the day is to try and be the love that I want to see in the world. I say it over and over and over again. Just because I don't believe in God doesn't mean I don't believe in the power of love. I do believe in the power of love, and that actually probably is my higher power. Love and empathy and compassion and grace and kindness and dignity and equality and fairness and justice and equity, all the things that would make us want to live this life. Because all the opposite things of that are the reasons why I wouldn't want to stay here on this planet. So I try to gravitate towards those things. It can be very hard, especially, when you have views that would be considered shocking, which I'll get to that. We have Pam Bondi right now who is actually telling the Justice Department to make a list of people like me, people who are critical of the Trump regime, people like me. Apparently they view people like me as a threat now. So yeah, it can be very hard to gravitate towards those loving feelings when you're living under this type of regime. Like today, Trump saw that Rob Reiner and his wife were violently killed. Rob Reiner, who's been part of my life ever since I was a little kid. I was born in 1969. I grew up watching All in the Family, and then growing up and seeing movies like Misery and When Harry Met Sally and like all these other amazing movies. This is Spinal Tap. Like he was just part of the pop culture public discourse. Rob Reiner was just everywhere. And So to see something so horrible like that happen to somebody, and then to see the president respond to it in such an ugly, gross, self-involved way, claiming that the reason why Rob Reiner was killed was because he suffered from Trump derangement syndrome. And you know what? I got to read Trump's actual post. This is what Trump said. A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director. What does he mean tortured and struggling? Like, Rob Reiner was not tortured or struggling. Like, that is ridiculous. But once very talented movie director and comedy star has passed away together with his wife, Michele, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness, and with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before, may Rob and Michele rest in peace. Okay, you know what? Donald, go fuck yourself. Seriously, fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you, Donald Trump. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you, Donald Trump. Fuck you. I can't even say it enough. It is so fucking disgusting. That is the most disgusting response to people getting killed that I think I've ever seen. It's fucking ridiculous. It's just so self-involved. It's so sociopathic. It's so narcissistic. And it's so tone deaf. I think the thing that's scary to me about this is that the level of obvious tone deafness, it's just so apparent. You know, I was going to really go on and on and on about it, but like, why? Like, what? There's nothing to really talk about. It's just a bunch of bullshit. It's just a bunch of bullshit. That's the thing with this whole fucking administration. It's just a bunch of bullshit. So what's in the news right now? And by the way, out of respect for Rob Reiner and his wife, Michele, getting killed, I normally have all these wacky musical interludes between things, and I just didn't think it was appropriate today. Like, I wasn't really feeling it. I wasn't really feeling the really wacky musical interludes and stuff. So that's why you're not going to hear them today. It just didn't seem appropriate. I'd rather just talk about my feelings and talk about how we can, as a country, come together and try to rectify the fact that we are all trying to coexist with each other, and there are two totally separate camps of thinking at this point. Because the other thing that really bothered me, not just about how Donald Trump responded to this horrible news story, but also going online and seeing all these bot accounts. I'm hoping they're bot accounts, because if they're real people, that makes me even sadder. But almost immediately, I saw not just a couple posts, but like tons of posts from these conservative people saying, well, unlike all the liberals who laughed when Charlie Kirk died, I'm going to show respect and not laugh when Rob Reiner died. But like tons of posts like this. And it's like, you know what? Really? First of all, I don't know a lot of people who were laughing when Charlie Kirk died. I know a lot of people who didn't like what Charlie Kirk stood for, but even me, like, I thought what he stood for was horrible. He was racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic. He was bigoted. He was a conspiracy theory peddler. He would go on to college campuses and, you know, spar with these young college kids and, you know, then edit these videos together to make the college kids look stupid. I mean, I don't really think Charlie Kirk was a guy, but I didn't cheer when he got killed. Rob Reiner even did an interview where, you know, he thought it was horrible when Charlie Kirk got killed. And most people I know felt the same way. It's like they didn't like what Charlie Kirk stood for, but they weren't cheering that he got killed. You know, so then you have all these people on the other side, though, gaslighting and saying that all the liberals were cheering when Charlie Kirk got killed, but I'm going to be a better person and not cheer when Rob Reiner got killed. And, you know, like the whole thing, it's just so much grandstanding, and manipulating of the masses. And meanwhile, the real tragedy is that right now, people are losing their health care. They can't come up with any sort of solution for continuing the Affordable Care Act. People are going to be priced out of being insured, which means they're not going to even be going in to get basic checkups to, find out if there's anything they should be aware of with their health. Preventative care is going to go out the window. People are still struggling to get food stamps, and the price of living hasn't gone down. It's the middle of the winter. We're in this cold spell. People are surrendering things like their pets because they can't afford to feed their pets anymore. And so shelters are getting overrun with animals, and people are defaulting on their car loans because they can't pay their car loans. There's all these cracks in our economy, but the ultra wealthy are still making a lot of money because the stock market's still doing really good for now. It's all just such a bunch of bullshit. And it makes me wonder, what's really obscene? Is it horrible news stories like somebody getting killed and then a narcissistic president's response to it? Or is it like all the other stuff happening behind the scenes? Stuff that Rob Reiner even was advocating for, like people losing their health care, people not being able to afford to eat or pay their rent or pay their electric bill or pay their water bill or, find a good job. We could argue all day about what really is obscene. There's a lot of stuff that's troubling. So anyways, I could go on and on and on about this, but I think what I'm going to do right now is, because here's the thing also, you guys, I don't want this to be like the angry guy screaming at his camera podcast, because that's really not who I am. At the end of the day, I'm somebody who really does value people, even if they're people I don't know. I kind of feel like our responsibility from the moment we're old enough to really comprehend that we're here is to just try and be part of the solution for all of us, try to be the love we want to see in the world, the light, the grace, the dignity. I'm not religious, but I say the St. Francis prayer every day. I don't believe in God, but I say the St. Francis prayer every day because I believe in all the words that are in that friggin' prayer. Anyways, I think to cheer myself up right now, why don't we take some voice calls? By the way, thank you to everybody who's called in. I have so many voicemails this time around. I don't know if I'm going to get to all of them, so I'm going to try my best. I'm trying to keep these episodes down. As you've probably noticed, the last couple episodes were really long. They were both like an hour and 40 minutes long. I do not want to be doing episodes that long. That's kind of psychotic. I'm trying to keep them to like the 45, 50-minute mark. And that's another thing too. Before I get to the voicemails, can I ask you guys a favor? If you would do this for me, I would really greatly appreciate it. Whether you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music or you are watching me on YouTube, I want to know what about this podcast you like the most and what you don't really care as much about, because it's hard for me to tell. I've done a bunch of different segments. There's certainly the voicemails that I answer. There is my segment in the news where I talk about news stories. There's my segment, I'm kind of a douchebag when I'm dealing with assholes, where I pick an asshole each week and I let them know what I think of them. I'll do these lists, like 10 totally random things. Sometimes I'll be like 10 things that suck about being an atheist or 10 things that I'm amazed by. So let me know what things you like the most that I do on this podcast. You may not like anything I'm doing. You may have tuned into this podcast and you may think I totally suck. And that's great too. Like, you're entitled to your opinion. That's fine. But if you do like what I'm doing, let me know what you'd like to see more of, because I am not precious about any of this. Like, this thing can change and it can become what you guys want it to be. For me, this is just a way for me to get all the stuff that's in my head out of my system so that I can coexist with the world. Otherwise I'd be walking around with all these crazy thoughts in my head and no place to put them. And so this podcast actually allows me to get some stuff out of my system in a way that I think is hopefully helpful and maybe lets other people know that they're not so crazy and that maybe I'm voicing some of the stuff that they're thinking as well. So I don't know. Anyways, I just wanted to say that. And again, if you want to leave a voice message, just go to There Is No God and We're All Gonna Die and hit that send a voice message button. Anyways, let's see who called. Let's listen to some voicemails.
Hello, Daniel. This is Big Gay Ed, and I'm calling to leave you a voicemail because I'm curious, since you're an atheist living in the Bible Belt, how you, or if you and your family, meaning your man and your dogs, all your little fur babies, how do you celebrate the holidays? Do you have any traditions that you follow? Do you have friends over for dinner? What is it that you do to celebrate the holidays, if at all? And I like the holidays because for me, it represents kindness and generosity, and being there for other people who don't have anyone else to be there for them in their lives. And that's what I enjoy about the holidays. So I often have people over for dinner and celebrations who may not have the ability to go to their families because of their family's beliefs, and maybe not accepting them. So I don't know if this is something that you want to talk about on your show, but I just wanted to leave you a voicemail. I hope you're doing well, and I will talk to you soon.
Oh, well, Ed, as always, it's really nice to hear from you, and that's a lovely question. How do we celebrate Christmas? It doesn't matter that I'm an atheist. I still love Christmas, and we don't really celebrate it the way I think other households do. Like, we don't put up a tree or anything like that. As a matter of fact, this year we're really not doing anything. We are just kind of having a nice, relaxing day. That's kind of enough for us because we both do so much stuff that having a day where we can just veg out and maybe just watch Christmas movies all day and eat popcorn and just snuggle up on a couch, like, to me, that's all I want. I don't need any presents. I don't need anything like that. Although my parents, they passed away in 2014 and I miss them every day. They were wonderful people. And I grew up in a very large family. I was the youngest of 6 kids. And so Christmas was pretty major growing up. We would go caroling. We would go to my grandmother's house. My grandmother lived right around the corner, so we literally could walk to my grandmother's house. We could even walk through the woods to my grandmother's house. And so we'd go over there on Christmas Eve and open up presents there and then go caroling around town. And then we'd, wake up Christmas morning and we'd all have to wait at the top of the stairs. And my parents would yell when we could come down. We'd all rush down the stairs and open up the stockings and everything. And then we'd, do the presents and stuff. And that's a really wonderful memory. Again, I was born in 1969. So those memories all exist like in the 70s for me. And then, people started moving away. And then I moved to New York City. I remember when I first moved to New York, like I had Christmases where I was just by myself on Christmas Day, just wandering around New York. And I kind of learned to embrace the fact that Christmas is a lovely day to just be nice to people. I don't have to necessarily celebrate it the way I don't want to put any pressure on myself to make Christmas more than it is. One of the other things I do, and I know I've mentioned this before, is I love to bake. And so I bake a ton of cookies and a ton of candy. As a matter of fact, I just spent a ton of money on it. I'm going to be doing hot mess cookies, fudge, cinnamon no-bake cookies, this other kind of fudge, brown butter fudge, doing like basically 6 or 7 different kinds of like cookies and candy. And then I make these big gift bags and I bring them all over town. I bring them to both banks. I bring them to the police department, the fire department, the town hall employees, the post office, the Mennonites who we go to this Mennonite store. They're lovely people. Again, I don't hate religious people. Like I love the Mennonites. I think they're awesome. And there's a couple other people I bring them to. My neighbors, and some of my neighbors are people who voted for Donald Trump, but I still love them. They're my neighbors. I want to be a nice neighbor, so, and some of you listening who have the same beliefs as me, you may hate the fact that I do that. And I get that. I get that. But for me, because I live down here in the middle of the Bible Belt, and I believe in the things I believe in, I believe in equality and justice and grace and dignity and all that good stuff. I can't really serve those things well in my community if I'm just this mean guy who hates everybody. Like, that's not going to do any of the causes that I believe in any good. And that's just how I view it. I respect if other people view it differently. And like I mentioned that I lived in New York for a long time. That's a very different environment. And I'm grateful that people have that environment, where it is more liberal. You have these big cities where there's more open-mindedness and there's more inclusivity. I love that. And I'm grateful that people have that. That's not where I live. And so for me, I feel like my job is to try and still be the love I want to see, especially during times like Christmas. And so, yeah, that's my long-winded way of saying that this Christmas, I'm going to bring cookies and candy all over the town. I also am a member of an anonymous group that helps people get sober. I can't say the name of it, but I am about to celebrate 7 years of sobriety in a couple weeks. I'm very excited about that. So there's going to be things happening with that organization, some special sober parties that are going to happen for people. And so I'm certainly going to help put those on because I think it's important when somebody's struggling. I know 7 years ago, I was on my way to drinking myself to death. I was also very suicidal. And I'm grateful that I ultimately got sober, but that Christmas 7 years ago was one of the darkest moments in my life. And I did not see any hope. And if you had told me at that point, life's going to get better at some point. You're going to get sober and you're going to get yourself together and you're going to become proud of who you are. You're not going to hate yourself anymore. And you're even going to be able to go into a place and tell people, hey, listen, this is who I am. I'm a gay, liberal atheist. I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm proud of who I am. I'm allowed to be this person. For a long time, I felt like I needed to apologize for a lot of that stuff. And today I don't feel that way. And so, who needs Christmas presents when you can give that present of self-acceptance to yourself? Man, I'm going all over the place. I'm so sorry. Anyways, thank you for the question, Ed. I love you. I'm sorry I'm kind of rambling, but let's see who else called. Good Lord.
Hello, Daniel. This is Jackie from Minnesota, first-time listener and first-time caller. And I was really excited to hear your podcast on the 30 things you're not grateful for. The billionaire extreme wealth as an addiction was great perspective.
Yeah.
And the bootstraps, picking yourself up by your bootstraps. And I was just almost screaming to my phone and saying, walk a mile in my shoes before you tell me how heavy my bootstraps are, because they probably have people to help them pull theirs up. But I was really resonated with Corey's question about the boundaries when gift giving, especially for people in need. And as you are a empath that absorbs energy, did you experience any burnout? And is that why you have healthy boundaries today?
Yes. Yes. Wow, Jackie, that's such a great question. And wow, thank you so much for calling up. And thank you for discovering the podcast. I hope you keep listening and I hope you call back again because I loved your entire voice message. I really did. That really means a lot to me. A lot of times I don't even know how people discover this podcast. I don't. So when a new person calls, man, it makes me feel like a $1,000,000. So thank you. It doesn't take much to make me happy. And so your voice message made me very happy. And yeah, I love what Corey said. Oh, the bootstraps thing. Yeah. Awful. I fucking hate that. Thank you so much for pointing that out. That expression, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. We're seeing that right now. Apparently, because they can't come to any sort of agreement about the Affordable Health Care Act, apparently everybody's going to just have to pull themselves up by their bootstraps even if they have like a terminal illness or like something where they can't go to work, but, good luck getting insured now because, we can't come to any sort of agreement about the Affordable Care Act or making insurance affordable for people. And by the way, let's demonize people for needing help in the first place. It's just such bullshit. And, it goes back to that thing I was saying before, like what's truly obscene? Is it the way an unhinged president posts this ugly thing after a couple is murdered senselessly? Or is it the fact that people aren't going to be insured and that's going to actually cause people to die? Like when you don't have health insurance, health problems don't get discovered. And then, when people finally do go in, they're going into the emergency room and it's too late. And America should be better than that. We should want everybody to have preventative care. Anyways, I'm getting way off course because that isn't even what you were calling up about. You were calling up about boundaries. And I'm just going off because I loved your voice message and I'm grateful that you brought up the pull yourself up by your bootstrap. Yeah, it's a horrible expression. But anyways, to your question about boundaries, my whole life, I have been somebody who, for the longest time, if you were in a bad mood, I thought it was my fault. My self-esteem was so low for most of my life. I heard somebody put it perfectly. They said that for the longest time, they suffered from a severe case of not enoughism. And that resonated so deeply with me that, for me, how does a gay liberal atheist find spirituality living amongst all this stuff? Because I think we all need to have some sort of a spiritual life, even if we don't believe in a spirit in the classic sense of the word. Like, I don't think I have this like otherworldly thing. I think when I die, I die. But I think a spirit can also just be like our thoughts and what makes us who we are. Like when people think about Daniel, what do they think of? Like what kind of energy comes to mind? Like, am I a happy person? Am I a miserable person? Am I somebody who brings people joy? Am I somebody who people are like, oh man, I just don't want to deal with that guy? Now, I'm sure, depending on who you are, I could be all those things. But as far as the boundaries thing, like for the longest time, my spiritual program was, I will be happy when. And there was this whole laundry list of stuff that was going to make me happy. Like when I'm rich, when I'm famous, when I'm this, when I'm that. And all of that stuff had nothing to do with me. It was all me thinking I needed all those things in order to be enough for the world. Like for the world to finally accept me and love me and, consider me a valid person. I needed to be this, rich, famous, on MTV, have a platinum album, like all this other stuff. And when none of that ever happened, I gravitated towards drugs and alcohol and like all sorts of other vices. And relationships. I had relationship after relationship where I did not really have any concept of healthy boundaries. And so, if you had a problem, even if I had just met you when we started dating, I kind of felt like it was my responsibility to fix all your problems. And so I would be paying people's bills. I would be writing checks to boyfriends. I paid a boyfriend's income tax. His tax bill, it was like $6,000 and I paid it. Why? Because I don't know. Like I found myself throwing money at people's problems and throwing time that I didn't have and not having the ability to say no to people. Like people would say, hey, I need you to do this. And I didn't even have the vocabulary to be like, you know what? I don't want to do that, or I don't have the time to do that. And Oprah Winfrey, she said, no is a complete sentence. No means no. You don't even have to give anybody a reason for saying no. You can just say no. Hey, can you do this thing for me? Sorry, I can't. No. And I don't owe anybody an explanation. And our love for ourselves has to come not in a narcissistic way, because when I see somebody like Donald Trump, and that is like a mental illness right there. Like when somebody is that narcissistic, that's not the type of self-love I'm talking about. I'm talking about when we are comfortable enough with ourselves that we can create the boundaries we need and we can give ourselves the time, the space, and the grace that we need to be healthy and happy, that's the gift we give ourselves. And so, yeah, great question. That's how I do it. And it's a one day at a time thing. It's not something that I've mastered. There are days where I find myself relapsing into my old behavior. Like Corey will get upset about something and then I'll feel like, as his partner, like, well, it's my responsibility to fix Corey. It's not my responsibility. Corey's an adult. Like, I can be supportive and I am, but it's that balance of like, I still need to make sure that I'm okay, because if I'm not okay, then I'm not going to be any help to anybody else. So there's that as well. So I think it's about loving ourselves. And there's nothing wrong with loving ourselves. I love Daniel today. I think Daniel's a great guy. Now, if you're watching this and you hate the premise of my show, I'm not talking about you, Jackie. You clearly love the podcast, and I appreciate that. But if somebody else, like a MAGA person or a Christian nationalist or a neo-Nazi, is watching this and they hate everything about me, to all of you people, just so you know, that's fine. I support the fact that you have thoughts, but it doesn't change the fact that I love myself today, and I don't apologize for that. I'm allowed to love myself today, and it's taken me a long time to get here. And one of the nicest things that I could possibly ever say to myself is that if I was not me, I would be friends with me. I would absolutely be friends with Daniel, because I know who Daniel really is. He's a trustworthy person. He's a loyal person. He cares about people. I truly want what's best for everybody, and that even includes the people who voted for Donald Trump. One of the things that breaks my heart is when I say I want us all to have universal health care, I'm not just talking about liberals. I'm talking about everybody. Everybody having health care where they can just go into the doctors if they don't feel well. They don't have to put things off. I want us all to have nice things, So, I think Daniel's a pretty nice guy. Anyways, liking ourselves and loving ourselves is another way that we give ourselves permission to have those healthy boundaries. Anyways, I hope that answered your question. It was a little all over the place. I'm kind of all over the place today. Just so you know, you guys, I'm not to make excuses, but I did get a root canal on Thursday. It was my third one this year. I now officially am going to have 8 crowns in my mouth. My teeth are horrible teeth. But I don't know what happened. I think they hit a nerve or something. So this whole side of my mouth right now is still numb. Like I can't feel my lip right here. So if I seem like I'm stumbling over my words a little bit, I apologize. That's just what's going on. I have some weird sensation. They're going to do x-rays on my mouth on Thursday to see what's going on. And I'm not blaming my dentist for it. My dentist is wonderful. I just had a really, really, really insanely infected tooth, and the infection was way deep inside my gums. Anyway, so that's why I'm kind of talking weird. Okay, so let's see who else called. Good Lord. Thanks for calling, Jackie. I appreciate it.
Well, I'd like to talk about this jewelry store I remember in Lower Manhattan that had a window of all this deluxe. I mean, it was like cram packed. And if you went into the store, it was run by a man that seemed like 1,000 years old. Do you remember that store? I mean, was it in Soho or was it? Where was that store?
Oh my goodness. I think you're talking about Love Saves the Day. So this is a store that was in New York City when I lived there in the 1990s. You can also see it in Desperately Seeking Susan. It's the store that Madonna walks into and she sees the boots. And so then she trades her jacket for the boots. And then Rosanna Arquette comes in and buys the jacket. And then that starts the whole thing rolling in Desperately Seeking Susan. But yeah, Love Saves the Day. I think it was on 2nd Avenue and I want to say 6th Street. 6th Street. I believe that's where it was. I may be a block off. Was it on 2nd Avenue? I don't know. If a New Yorker could confirm with me, but I think you're talking about Love Saved the Day because they did sell jewelry, but they also had like all this other stuff as well. And it was actually a woman who started it. I can't remember her name, but she started it way back in the 60s, and then her and her husband ran it. And so later on, he kind of was like, after she passed away, he was kind of like the old guy who had all this really cool stuff. Like they had vintage toys and all this other stuff. I think you're talking about Love Saves the Day. Anyways, it's nice thinking about it. I bought a lot of stuff there back when I lived in New York. I had a really cool shirt that I bought from there. It had all this like real psychedelic designs on it. All right, let's see what else. Who else called? Who else?
So, I don't understand how you're still living down south. Dave and I actually ended up moving back to New England just to get away from the MAGAs. I'm happy to say that it has mostly worked, and wishing you were closer. Love you.
Oh, I see right here. That was my lovely friend Peg. And Peg is the wife of the bass player, guitarist for, I was the bass player. What am I talking about? I used to be in this band back when I was a teenager called Rodeo Jesus. And it was kind of like a rockabilly, punkabilly band, kind of like the Cramps. And we were great. It was kind of part of the whole punk rock scene in New Hampshire back in the late 80s. And Peg was actually in a band called No Fun. And they were great too. It was just this little like punk rock scene in New Hampshire back in the 80s. And Peg, it's so nice to hear your voice, and I miss you guys too. And yeah, it is hard living down here sometimes. I know I shared about it a lot already in this episode, but like the whole concept of like how I managed to stay here is, first of all, I don't really have a choice. We have all these handicapped dogs, and so we can't really afford to just up and leave with this whole cavalcade of dogs. Also, this house, which was built in 1899, needs so much work. In order for me to ever put it on the market, I would need to probably stop everything I was doing and actually just only work on this house for like a half a year. Like I would have to just work full time every day from sunup to sundown to fix all the things that are wrong with this house. And that includes getting underneath and fixing the foundation and like all this other stuff. I mean, I'm grateful for the house. And I never want to like not be grateful for it. There are people living on the street. And so I'm grateful that we have a roof over our head and it's a house that's filled with love. And, you know, even though me and Corey are kind of like the fish out of water here, like we are kind of like the town liberals. There's a couple other people, like there's a cool artist couple that lives a couple houses down. They're very liberal too. So there's liberals here. There's liberals all over. And so I don't ever want to give people the wrong impression that like we are the only liberals in our town. Like there's other liberals here. And certainly when we go a couple towns over to Dixon, it's even more open-minded. And then if we just drive an hour east, we're in Nashville, and that's much more liberal. But I've even seen a shift in the demographics. I've seen over the last 10 years that I've been here, I've seen a lot more people moving out this way because they're getting priced out of Nashville. And so, yeah, even the voting demographic here is changing. It's becoming more liberal. I mean, I'm seeing more liberal people here. So that makes me very happy. And I think part of it too is, I know that I'm always talking about be the love you want to see in the world and be the light and the grace and all that. Be the kindness, you know, so like when I bring cookies and candy around to people, even people who don't vote the way I vote, one of the reasons why is because it's really important for me to be a member of the community. Like if I'm here, I need to be a member of the community. I can't just be somebody's sitting on my couch, looking outside, like suspicious of everybody. Like I need to be out in the community, even if I don't vote the way other people vote, even if I have this wackadoodle, like atheist view of life, I still need to be a member of the community. And so that makes it more bearable. And because then people get to know me and they realize like, oh, he's actually not a bad guy. And then there was something else I was going to say about that. Now I can't remember what it was. Let's see, be a member of the community. Oh, and then also to take part in things like we started a LGBTQIA recovery group here. There's tons of people going to that now. It's three nights a week. And then there's the art guild that I belong to. So I go and I get to hang out with a bunch of artists, and I've met some of the coolest people in the world there. So, there's no such thing as a completely conservative place and a completely liberal place. So like you will find conservative people living in New York City. You'll find wacky liberal people living here in the Bible Belt. People are everywhere. All different types of people are everywhere. And so I know for me, it's just trying to like get past all those labels and still, be a neighbor among neighbor, a friend among friend, a worker among workers, all that good stuff. And so, yeah, goes back to that St. Francis prayer I was talking about earlier, regardless of how people vote around me, where there's hatred, let me bring love. Where there's wrong, may I bring the spirit of forgiveness. Where there's discord, may I bring harmony. Where there's error, may I bring truth. Where there's doubt, may I bring faith. Where there's despair, may I bring hope. Where there's shadows, may I bring light. Where there's sadness, may I bring joy. Grant that I may seek to comfort rather than be comforted, to understand rather than be understood, to love than to be loved. For it's by self-forgetting that one finds, it's by forgiving that one is forgiven, it's by dying that one awakens to eternal life. Amen. And for me, eternal life just means that, I don't know, I'll die and it'll be lights out. So I don't believe in the eternal life part, but that's just me. I respect that most people want to believe in that, and I get that that's comforting. Anyways, that's another conversation for another day. I love you and I miss you and Dave, and I hopefully will get up north and I'll be able to see you guys at some point. That would be lovely. Okay, I'm just going to take a couple more voicemails because, as I said, I'm trying to shorten these episodes and we're already at almost the 45-minute mark. And so I'm just going to take a couple more voicemails. I have a lot more voicemails. So what I'll do is like maybe a couple days later, I'll film another episode, and get to the rest of the voicemails. So again, I'll accept all the voicemails that I can get. So there is no God and we're all going to die.com and just hit that send a voice message button. Let's see who else called.
Hi, Daniel. I was just listening to your last episode, and I know you said that you were like a spiritual liberal atheist, and I find that so delightfully contradictory. But there was a part of the transcript, sometimes I read ahead because the audio is like genuinely too slow for me when I'm stimming, but you were going to be this really soft and calming influence on my early morning listening, and then you immediately went to, what, I think animal abusers deserve the death penalty, and it made me laugh so hard. It made me laugh so hard. I have a brother who's exactly like that. He's not like you, he's not gay, he's not white, he's not living in the Bible Belt, but he is the sweetest, nicest, kindest man until he hears that somebody has abused an animal or murdered an animal, and then suddenly he's like, bring out the guillotine, where's my axe? So I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for showing that liberals still have some fire and maybe like a killing instinct, because if there was ever a time to really start striking back in defense of the defenseless, this right now would be the time. Okay. Bye, Daniel. Great job on the podcast.
Aww. Oh, thank you so much. That was a Tina. Thank you, Tina. It's so lovely to hear from you. And yeah, I guess your brother and I kind of have a similar view. It seems to be a thing with a lot of people. I mean, animals are such pure souls. I mean, humans are great. As you can probably tell from everything I've said, like, I love people. And it's taken me a long time to love people. I didn't always love people. For a long time, I was kind of like one of those people who I just kind of hated everybody. Like, there was a long period in my life where I just was not a people person at all. It's something that I had to grow into. And now I love people. I really do. People are beautiful to me now. All different types of people, you know, and I want people to be diverse, you know, like that thing of, like, you mentioned that your brother was not white like me. You know, I get a kick out of it when people say, like, oh, I don't see color. It's like, why don't you see color? Like, that's so crazy. Like, I want to see all the colors. I want to see them all. I want to see all the different shades of skin tone. I want to see all the different ways somebody can be in the sexuality spectrum or the gender spectrum or all of that stuff. Like, I think it's all great, you know, so long as it's not hurting anybody else, like, just like celebrate all of it. And so I love people, but when it comes to animals have this purity that people just don't have. Like, animals have very pure souls. And so when somebody hurts an animal, yeah, I see red. I just go ballistic. And I think part of it is because animals represent the purest part of us. Like, when I know for me, my dogs, they are like a reflection of my most innocent parts. I'll look at my dogs and the love that I feel for them. It's almost like this violent love. You know, like when you see a baby, like you see a baby and the baby is just so helpless and has its little fingers, its little baby fingers. And, you know, babies are just so cute, but you see them and you just kind of want to, like, bite them, you know, like that thing of, like, they're just this love. You don't know what to do with the love. And it's just like, I feel the same way with animals. It's like I see them and, like, the love that I feel, it's almost like overwhelming and I don't know what to do with it. And sometimes I love my dogs so much that they will get up and leave the room. They're like, you know what, dude, you are freaking us out now. But I'm grateful that I have that capacity to love. I mean, I think anytime we can love something like that, that's a gift. That's a gift that we get to experience. Your brother sounds like an amazing person. You sound like an amazing person. And I'm so glad that you like the podcast. That you can see right now I'm smiling. I want this podcast. Okay. I'm getting a little sidetracked, but I needed to say this. I think that's what bummed me out about the beginning of this podcast was I had to talk about Donald Trump and how he said all that fucking bullshit about the Reiners getting murdered and how he made it all about himself. And it was just so unhinged and so ugly and so just self-serving and tone deaf and gross. And it bummed me out that that's how I had to start the podcast. But what else was I going to do? It literally just happened. But honestly, believe it or not, I don't want this to be the angry liberal podcast. Like, that's never what I was going for. The problem is that right now, this current administration and all the people in power, they make it so damn hard for us to be positive. You know, it's like positivity. It's almost like it's this commodity that is dwindling. Because we are all just living in this nut house with these people who are just friggin' crazy. So, I don't know. I think that's why I like these voicemails is because I know that, like, when somebody calls up and they appreciate it, it does mean the world to me. So thank you. And I hope that you keep listening and I hope you call back again. Because it was lovely to hear from you. I'm only going to take one more phone call. I have a bunch of phone calls I did not get to. I think what I'm going to do is split this up and then I'll do another episode in a couple days and I can get to the rest of the voicemails and maybe other people can call up as well. Let's see. Who else?
Hey, Daniel, it's Chris Mitchell calling. I hope you're doing well, man. I'm sorry I wasn't around to call in while you were on the air, but if you ever want somebody on your show who used to be a militant Christian fundamentalist nationalist, I'm your guy. When I was 17, I was hurting and in a lot of pain, and I was ripe pickings for an apostolic Pentecostal cult. And I was indoctrinated, And although I was only there for about 4 years, it took 15 years to deprogram myself from the damage that they did to me. And I can tell you all about it. And I understand their weirdness. I don't understand the cult of personality that surrounds Trump, but I understand how people get wrapped up in this judgmental Christianity. Anyway, brother, I love you. I hope you're doing good. Give yourself a big hug. Bye.
Okay, yeah, Chris, that's happening. You are coming on this show and you're going to talk about that because, first of all, I love the flying fuck out of you. You are such an amazing guy. For all of you watching this right now, Chris Mitchell is an amazing singer. One of the best singers I've ever seen live. He has this incredible voice. And you know I love singers, so that says a lot coming from me. I actually directed one of his music videos. If you go and Google Chris Mitchell Unconcerned, it's a gorgeous video. If I do say so myself, I directed it, but and it's a beautiful song. It's an absolutely beautiful song, and it deserves to have more people see the video because the video is really gorgeous. And yeah, but he's just an amazing singer, but he's also somebody I did know this about him. Like he grew up down here in the South, and I think you had mentioned that to me years ago. I think when I first met you, we talked about that a little bit, about how you had been raised and how you had gone through this like super religious thing. I think you had mentioned that. That sounds very familiar to me, but yeah, man, that would be so great to have you come on because I do want to have more people come on. I had my lovely friend Big Gay Ed come on last month, and so yeah, I will reach out to you. I think I have your information. I'm going to reach out to you and we will get you on here to talk about your life in this crazy religious cult when you were a teenager. I think it's important for people to hear that because, you know, my job when I'm doing this is it's not about me. It's not about, you know, granted, I started this podcast because I was feeling so frustrated and I felt like I had this scream in me that I had no place to scream. You know, I was doing my music, I was doing my art, and that was a one way that I could like express myself. Like I could write songs about, you know, how I was angry at Donald Trump, or like, you know, songs about homophobia or racism or, you know, injustice or anything like that. And you know, that would help a little bit, but the problem is I can only put so much of my thoughts into those things, like, you know, because everything has to rhyme and it has to still be a good song. And so all the news stories and anecdotes and random thoughts and all the stray tangents surrounding those things would still be flying around my head. Like I couldn't get them all into the song, or like if I did a painting. And so, you know, I would do those things, but then I would still have all this unresolved material in my head flying around. And so the podcast has been my way of getting it out of my system, which is why some of the episodes go on for like an hour and a half. I'm trying to rein it in. It's hard for me. I'm still learning how to do this, and that's okay. But yeah, I do like to have other people come on because I don't want it to just be all about me either. I want to hear other people's stories, and I want to hear how they've come to a place of self-love and self-acceptance. And so it would be so nice to have you come on here. And yeah, I will reach out to you. We will make that happen. I would find that very interesting. I think other people would too. You guys, I think ending with Chris's voice message, I think it's appropriate because we started off with me talking about an unhinged, crazy person, Donald J. Trump, making a horrific news story all about himself, him accusing Rob Reiner of having Trump derangement syndrome, and that's why Rob Reiner and his wife got killed. Again, one of the lowest points for any president ever. It'll be interesting to see how they try to spin this into a positive thing. Although, here's the other thing that's sad. You know, I thought, how are they ever going to spin January 6th? But yet he says that those people who attacked our nation's capital are patriots, and his base believes him. He goes around still spreading lies even about the 2020 election that caused our nation's capital to be attacked. And we know that all his baseless claims, that's what they are, baseless claims about that election. And people still love him even after all that. You know, my guess is that the people who love him will continue loving him, because it does seem like for some people in that mindset, I think he can pretty much do whatever he wants at this point, and they just don't care. Like, they're just so hell-bent on co-signing everything he does. So I think for those type of people, we just need to let them go and focus on the people who do still have a functioning mind. And so I think that's why it's fitting that we end with Chris's voicemail, because he's somebody who was in a cult mindset when he was very young, and then he managed to get out of it, but it took him a long time, but now he's free of that. And so I think it's important to know that people can get out of that mindset. And so I think ending with Chris's voicemail is appropriate, and I'm excited to have Chris come on the show and talk to us about that. If I did not get to your voicemail, I will get to it the next time. This has been lovely. Again, if you want to leave a voice message, go to There Is No God and We're All Gonna Die, and there is a button right there. It just says leave a voice message. I think it says leave a voice message or leave me a voicemail or something. Just press it and you get 90 seconds to tell me what you think. Anyways, I love you guys. Have a wonderful rest of the day. There is no God and we're all gonna die. There is no God and we're all gonna die. There is no God and we're all gonna die. There is no God, there's just you and I.